Welcome, one and all, to the latest edition of
This
Single
is.
Mars. I'm your host, Victor. Joining us are Mr. Yarg Metal, Dr. Poison, Brad Dahl, and hopping on as the show is starting, Mr. Ed Ferguson. How are you guys?
Doing good. How are you?
There we go.
Well, that's kind of a lie. Feeling pretty sad about
Oh,
that.
Yeah, we've got Edgar Winterson in the chat as well, and today's episode is remembering Ace Frehley, someone that has influenced all of us. Hey, we've got Toni Espin as well in the chat. Yeah, I've got my Creatures of the Night t-shirt on, and yes, I know that Ace did not play on Creatures, but I do think it is still an iconic cover, and it just dawned on me today a few things.
Got that up there.
One, yeah, right behind you there. One thing is that half of that lineup is gone, Eric Carr and Ace, and that's actually the only cover. Or no, I guess Killers. Killers has Ace and Eric together in makeup. But Creatures and Killers are the only two places where Eric and Ace appear together on an official album cover.
yeah, because the band's not on the Elder, are they?
Nope, they're not on the Elder. They were still using Peter Criss's image on Unmasked, even though Eric did that tour. So, yeah, rough day. I found out it was weird. I was going down various YouTube rabbit holes last night, and I just didn't want to go to sleep for whatever reason. I kept thinking, you need to go to sleep by this time. You need X amount of hours. I passed up on an interview yesterday because they wanted me to do the interview at midnight, and I said, no, I got to get to bed like an hour before that. I'm sitting on the couch well past midnight, and I get into bed, and my usual, I'm looking at Instagram, and I'm looking at Mark Strigl's stories, and I see an image of Ace, Rolling Stone, and it says Ace Frehley, 1940 whatever to 2025. I'm like, wait, what? And so I instantly go to Google, and it says right away that he had passed away. And it said, that he had fallen in his studio a few weeks ago, which led to a brain bleed. And from what I learned this morning, his family decided to take him off of life support because they had said the odds of him surviving were really bad. So the family, instead of kind of drawing it out, decided to just take this step. I'm glad I'm not in their shoes. I hope that's not a decision that I ever have to make with anyone,
Me too.
That can't be easy.
Mm-mm.
And, I fell asleep, got up today instantly when I, was getting ready to take my kids to school. I put on an Ace Frehley playlist that I'd made this summer, which was just his solo material. And I went through that quickly. And this afternoon I started listening to Kiss. But I left my kids at school, and it started to kind of set in. And it was weird because, when Ozzy had passed away this summer, all the shows were pre-recorded, and, I was in upstate New York, and similar to now, I was dealing with a bad back, but I was in a lot of pain, and I was like, "Okay, um, I'll mourn Ozzy by just listening to Ozzy and Sabbath for the." That's what I did. I listened to nothing but Ozzy and Sabbath for like 2 weeks straight. And I think I felt the loss of Ozzy this morning more than I did when it happened because of that. You know, I started putting together how both Ozzy and Ace were now gone, and how both of them have accompanied me through such a long time of my life. There's a reason why I have this image of Ace behind me. This is from The Inside of Alive 2. That book that comes with it, The Evolution of Kiss, or whatever the name of it is. I saw that image when I was 4 years old. My brother had Alive 2 and he had Destroyer. These are the same copies. I inherited these from him. So these have been around in our household since 1977. And I realized it. I realized that, you know, Ace was the catalyst, the beginning of the soundtrack to my life. You know, that image got me into music and was like was the beginning to point to this whole musical journey. And for better or worse, their music has been with me, you know, through good times, through bad times, through moments where I've needed to pick me up. And I've turned to music by Ace, by Ozzy, by others that have passed away this year, you know, others that have passed away these last few years. And I mean, I don't want to diminish like the loss of like Dio or Lemmy or people like that, or even Eric Carr, or, you know, even Freddie Mercury. Thinking back, you know, I remember when Steve Clark died, I was devastated. You know, it was the first time that I could kind of interpret somebody who I looked up to passing away. And then shortly thereafter, Eric Carr and Freddie Mercury died the same day. And I remember I was in high school and I was a mess. You know, I remember I was bawling my eyes out before school. I'm like, my world is over. A member of Kiss is gone. You know, a member of Queen is gone. You know, I wasn't used to any of that stuff. So, you know, being older, stuff hits you a different way, but it's still, you know, I got pretty emotional this morning when all of this information just started coming in, and I started taking everything in and processing it.
Yeah. What year were you born, Victor?
73. So
all right. So when you were 4, it was right at the height of their popularity.
Yep.
So yeah, that was the perfect time for you to discover him. And that's the same time that I discovered him too. I was just more like 7 or 8.
Okay.
But yeah. And the same for me. It's just that is what awakened me to rock music the most, I think. You know, I wasn't really paying attention to music. I was, you know, in my own world with my imagination as a kid. But when I heard Kiss, which was Kiss Alive 2 for the first time, yeah, that woke me up and started my musical journey.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, I remember hearing Alive 2, remember hearing Destroyer. The first song that I can pinpoint and say, okay, they're speaking to me. This is what I love. This was Flaming Youth on Destroyer. Flaming Youth, you know, Flaming Youth, you set the world on fire. I was like, that's me. I want to set the world on fire. You know, I want to do something. I want to make a difference. I want to stand out somehow. And I remember we would listen to Alive 2 and Destroyer back to back all the time, to the point where I'm sure I was annoying the hell out of my brother.
Yeah.
he was moving on from Kiss shortly thereafter, because he was getting into and at the same time, as a byproduct, Pink Floyd and AC/DC and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So, yeah, but for me, I mean, it was Kiss up until Quiet Riot's Metal Health came out. That was the first thing that kind of made me really interpret something else like Kiss. Want to
And
give
with Kiss back then, they weren't just a rock band, but they were also tying themselves into everything else that we liked.
right,
Like I said before, Kiss was like watching your superheroes that you would watch in Sunday morning cartoons all of a sudden
yeah,
came to life and started a rock band.
yeah,
With their costumes and makeup. And also at that time we were watching, Star Trek and Buck Rogers and what the same year I discovered Kiss was when Star Wars came out.
right,
So Ace with his whole space get up, tied in really well with all the stuff in our pop culture that we as kids were getting into, and the advancement of computers and video games. I mean,
right.
it was all worked together, I think, to help them in their success, and especially appealing to us as kids.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, like
absolutely.
look at it here. This is my friend's that died, and I got all his music. This was in his collection. This was when he was in elementary school. But when you're like you were 4, I'm 7, 8 years old, and you're seeing this, I mean, that's just cool as hell.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
You want to be this. You want to be like that. It's
Right,
like the closest thing to being able to be a superhero that you could be
absolutely.
is to become like Ace Frehley. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 100%. Quick shout out to Jeremy, who's in the chat. He's feeling under the weather. That's why he's not joining us tonight, but he did send um, a statement over. He sent this message. I saw Ace at Download a number of years ago. It was a short set, but quite a few Kiss numbers. Of course, I enjoyed it. I guess we'll never know if there was going to be a one-off reform of the band, as speculation was hinting at. Shame. None of us live forever. Do it today. Yeah, I saw. Well, actually, I saw. Brad Dahl had a interesting take last night when this was first coming over, and your comment was, "Life is precious. If there's someone you've been thinking about, don't put off reaching out to them."
True. Yeah. 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 It's, I don't know. As you get older, you start losing people, and you'd hate to think that somebody you really care about, you didn't connect with them again before it was too late to do so.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, life is precious.
You know what else is really hurting is that he was about to be honored with Kiss in December
Right.
Oh.
at the Kennedy Center Awards. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called?
Yeah, they released a statement actually regarding that, saying
Yeah.
the same thing. It's a shame that he's not going to be around to see what they have lined up to celebrate his music and his life.
Yeah, that's going to hurt when that celebration happens, not having him there.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll have his costume or something. I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how their award show goes and what they would do to, honor him during the
Yeah.
event. But
Well, they're going to have people playing their music. That's the usual MO.
yeah,
He will he'll be honored by whoever's playing their music. It'll be interesting to see who they bring in to do that.
so
They,
who do you think could do Ace Frehley solos the best? That
Well,
thought just kind of hit me when you said that. Who would
yeah,
you pick to try to honor an Ace Frehley solo so that it sounds like Ace and not someone doing their own thing? Because
yeah,
it's
and that's the thing, because one of the rumors initially was that it was going to be Ted Nugent,
you would have to pick someone in that vein. Yes.
but would Ted play Ace's stuff, or would Ted just be Ted?
Ted would be Ted.
Yeah, he couldn't do that, so that
No.
would disqualify him. Maybe Jimmy Page.
Can Jimmy still play?
Those similar licks that Ace did in some of those tunes.
Yeah, there are rumors that Jimmy can't even play anymore.
So, oh, really? I haven't
yeah.
heard that. That's too bad to hear.
Yeah.
Well, assuming he could play still, I think he'd be a good pick.
Oh, I mean, assuming he would play, I mean, Ace would be beside himself to know.
He sure would.
Yeah, his hero is playing, because you have to think about it. His biggest influences are Page, Beck, Hendrix, and Clapton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's...
You can tell, too, with the way he plays.
Yeah.
That's why so many guitar players just couldn't do it, because they're too good. They're too technical and fast and precise, and you got to be able to dig into your soul to do what Ace is trying to bring through in a song.
Yeah, because Ace is more of a field player than he is a technical player. That's why it would always crack me up when he would say, had I practiced more.
Yeah.
Had he practiced more, he wouldn't have had that same feel and intonation that he ultimately had. I'm assuming that, I don't know, do they get a full band to honor Kiss? Do they bring, do they do something like VH1 Rock Honors when they did God of Thunder? It was Rob Zombie with Slash and Scott Ian and Gilby Clarke and Tommy Lee on drums. Well, who can they get? John Five. John Five has played on Ace Frehley solo albums, and he adores the band. And even though he's technically proficient with all of his idols, he plays stuff the way that his idols played the stuff. So there's a candidate for you.
This is not someone I would normally think of, but Slash would be good for that spot.
Yeah, and I have to see if I can find the pictures. I got to see Ace at the Viper Room in LA with 200 people. And to the left of us was George Lopez, the comedian, and Slash at one of the booths. And Slash got up and played Cold Gin.
Nice.
Ace at the end of the night.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think who else was playing in Ace's band. Scott Coogan was playing in the band. Derek Hawkins, I think his name was, the other guitarist, guy with spiky blonde hair. And I don't remember who the bass player was. It was before Anthony Esposito joined him on the Anomaly tour. Because it was the first iteration of that band that he took out for Anomaly. I don't remember who the bass player was. I did exchange messages today with Mark Strigl, and I asked him for a quote that I could read. And he sent me the following. In a larger-than-life band of superheroes, Ace always seemed to be real, the most approachable. I met him numerous times through the years and had the honor and privilege of doing tons of interviews with him. You never know if he would be in a great mood or not so great mood, but you always knew he was real, not a faker. That came across in his playing and his songs, the absolute real deal, pure rock and roll to the core, and one of my favorite rock stars of all time.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, with the whole talking metal connection, one of the reasons why John Ostrowski wasn't more involved with talking metal was because he became Ace's manager, personal assistant. And John is, I haven't spoken to John in years. You can
Yeah, I
tell.
haven't heard from him in a long time either on social media even.
Yeah, he posted something on Instagram today, and you can tell he's hurting.
Yeah.
John, my heart goes out to you. If you ever get a chance to see this, know that your fans, people that followed you on Talking Metal, and people that know that all that you've done for Ace over the years love you and encourage you in this difficult time. For better or for worse, Ace was a part of his life for a better part of 40 years, and more so these last 15 or so years where he's worked continuously with him.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be really difficult for him, and obviously Ace's family and all of us fans. We all knew that one of the original 4 members of Kiss would eventually die, but I don't think anyone expected that Ace would have been the first.
No, I was kind of thinking Peter.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Peter's
bad to
the
say, but he
oldest.
always seemed to be the more frail dude.
Yeah, he's also the oldest. This was obviously a freak accident. He fell in his
Mhm.
studio, hit his head, and from what Jason Green mentioned on his show, which I was watching this morning, he mentioned that Ace had been in a coma for some time now.
Hmm.
That those that were in the know knew that this wasn't how it was being played out in the media. And that makes sense. I mean, you hope for the best. You're not going to just go right out there and say, yeah, he's in a coma, got a brain bleed, and he's probably going to die.
Mhm.
Obviously the family's hoping for the best. The doctors probably are as well. I mean, all of us, we wanted Ace to get better, for as much as, we've been critical about certain things that he's done, it doesn't diminish the love that we've had for him or his music. No one's perfect, but
So, didn't you interview someone in the last few weeks, and you all reminisced about him seeing Ace Frehley recently, and he was saying that Ace was not acting himself?
Oh,
Um,
Josh Toomey.
Josh Toomey, yeah, he had
Yeah.
seen him, and I recorded that interview at the end of May, actually, and it came
So,
out
yeah.
in August.
So it makes me wonder,
Yeah.
I mean, I almost hate to say something on video because you don't want people taking something you said, even if you're just wondering. But of course, I think I asked someone who was around him if they could tell if he had been drinking or something, and
Mhm.
they said no, but still he was acting funny. So you almost wonder if he was on some kind of medication that was making him feel woozy. I kind of wasn't surprised when I heard he had that fall, with the way some people said he'd been acting lately.
Right. And
And
that,
it doesn't seem to be alcohol, or I think people would have caught on to that.
yeah, I guess from what Jason Green was saying on his show is that Ace hasn't touched alcohol in years, so
Yeah,
it's not that, and it could very well be medication
it sure
because
can.
Ace has gotten larger these last few years, and that's usually Geezer Butler talks about that in his book, how some of the antidepressants that he's on ballooned him up in size, and how it doesn't matter how much he's tried to work out or take other things to try to supplement that he had to kind of come to a fork in the road and say, either I'm going to get fit, or I'm going to be fine in my head, basically. So it could be that. And
Mhm.
until, and I know this from family members of mine, until you find the right mix or the right concoction of medication that you take, there can be side effects and different things that come into play. Maybe that's
Mhm.
why that his behavior, during that show that Josh saw, and maybe that's what, like you're saying, maybe that's what happened in the studio. Maybe there's something that he was taking for health
Yeah.
reasons that just he couldn't stay balanced or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because yeah, I mean, even some of those like nerve pain medicines can make you feel woozy and a little dizzy and
Yeah.
put on lots of weight and all that stuff too. Yeah, that actually happened to me once. I was taking a medicine called Lyrica many years ago.
Right.
That they give for people with fibromyalgia and stuff. And believe it or not, I was twice this size by the time I stopped taking it. Almost. I'm like 140 pounds. I got
Right.
up to 220 pounds
Oh, wow.
and was buying size 36 jeans and stuff and I quit taking that medicine, and it came off so fast that
Yeah.
people were worried something was wrong with me and that I was sick and dying. But so yeah, that can happen. And too, those nerve medicines, they freeze you a bit.
Right.
You can easily fall if you're not careful. So yeah, I wonder if it was something a little bit more on top of just getting older, which of course, when you get old and you fall, it's a lot easier to break stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Ace was 74. Let's not kid ourselves. Ace lived a hard life, did a lot of alcohol and drugs for a very long time. I mean, if all accounts are true, I mean, he was heavy into both from the late 70s all the way up to when did Anomaly come out? 2009, so, like, up to 16 years ago. So, that's a stretch of 30 some odd years of alcohol and drugs possibly taking a toll on him. Similar to Ozzy, it's kind of the same thing. They abuse substances for so long, that has to have an effect on you. But
Yeah.
again, he was able to live a good life. I mentioned this.
Yeah, he did.
Hooligan Nation asked me to send a quote about Ace, and one of the things that I brought up, I said, "Remember the lyrics to the song Insane." And during that song, during the chorus, he says, "I live 5 days to your 1."
Yeah.
And I think when he wrote that lyric, he really meant that.
Yeah, he did.
So, the partying and everything else that he was doing,
Yeah, he had a good time.
he had a good time. So, for as sad as this coming to an abrupt end that no one saw it coming because it was an accident, Ace lived a great life.
Mm-hmm. There's some similarities too, I think, between him and Ozzy.
Right.
They were both characters unto themselves, different than all the other characters in the heavy music world.
Right.
They were they were very unique in their personalities. They're the kind of guys that walk into the room and everybody wants to be around them and talk to them, and they're fun. And another thing too is Ace's voice is different. It really stands out amongst the other voices in Kiss in a big way. And, yeah, there it is. So when you hear his tracks, I mean, they're so recognizable that it's almost like, an Ace solo track to me. The personalities that we've lost this year are just, on a different level than a lot of the others that we have to deal with or lose, like you said. I think Jeremy's right when he said Pete Way fell when he died too, didn't he? Yeah. But anyway, when I think of Ace compared to the other characters, those qualities stand out with him. That really separated him as even a different character from the rest of the guys in Kiss.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why he was able to have the solo career that he did too. If anybody was going to have a successful one, I think it was him because of his voice and his personality.
And also, I think today one of the things that stood out to me also is his work ethic, because a lot of people said
Yeah.
that he was lazy, like he was the lazy guy in Kiss, but he put out, if I'm not mistaken, 9 solo albums. He played on 9 Kiss albums, and he put out 9 solo albums. He put out Frehley's Comet, Second Sighting, Trouble Walking, Anomaly,
Yeah.
Space Invader. I'm missing some stuff here. He put out the Origins albums. He was working on a 3rd Origins album. So, I mean, yeah, if you, what I'm trying to get at is Peter's put out how many solo albums? I mean, 4 or 5, if that. There's the 2 in the 80s. There's the Chris Cat one, which is the only like rock one, and then there's that like jazz album he put out. So there's like 4. Bruce Kulick has released
3,
4 maybe. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Vinnie Vincent, 2. Officially, even though there's bootlegs and EPs and stuff like that. Eric Carr unfortunately passed away, and there's only 1 with his work. Mark St. John had the White Tiger stuff, and that's about it. And let's look at the solo output from the rest of the members. I mean, Gene and Paul have only put out. Gene has put out 1. Paul's put out 1 also. Eric Singer's put 1 out. Granted, they've had the vehicle of Kiss to release all the stuff that they've wanted. Actually, Paul's actually released the Soul Station album as well, but those are technically covers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, Ace has been more proficient.
Yeah, he has.
With his releases, and with this deal that he's had, he's been, releasing an album of original music every 2 years, and he's been doing the Origins albums in between.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been out there playing also.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot.
So, Brad.
Yeah, Ed.
I don't know if you've told me before on this show, but what was your discovery of Kiss yourself? At what age and what year and all that stuff, and how?
Excellent question, Ed. Okay, so in 1974, that's when I started high school, and I was on the cross country team. I know, hard to believe, but it's true. And
you have pictures of that?
Yeah, I do. Not handy, but
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, I'll get the evidence for you. But there's a group of guys that were on the team that were really into music. And of course, I was, I was still developing my musical snobbery, and so they would give me albums to listen to. And one album they gave me, this is again in 1974.
Yeah, it's got to be the first one.
They gave me this one, and I knew nothing about this band. I mean, you look at the picture.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And I remember dropping the needle on this and just going, Strutter.
Yeah.
And there was just something about it. It's like, wow, this is really cool. These songs are really cool. And, knew nothing else about the band. They also gave me, of course, this one too, because it came out in 74.
Right.
And I thought the album cover was just weird as hell, as not just hotter than hell. It's like, what is this? What are these guys,
Yeah.
Are these guys Asian? I don't know. Hard to tell with all the makeup. But I started playing bass in 75. I got my first bass in 1975 on my birthday.
Okay.
And one of the first things I did was this. And of course, it drove me crazy when I first started playing it, because I'm like, God, these songs are like in weird places on the neck. It doesn't make any sense the way they wrote this. And then I figured it out that they tuned down a half step, which I've never seen anybody in the band talk about that. But I'm going to guess that it was Ace that had everything to do with them tuning down a half step, because a lot of people call that Jimi Hendrix tuning.
Okay.
It's like, Jimmy tuned down a half step. I've never done the dive on that to prove that or not, but I've heard a lot of people call that. Well, I do Hendrix tuning down a half step, and we know that Ace, Jimmy was his guy. So it kind of makes sense that he would have come in there saying, "Hey guys, I think we need Victor to do the impression here. Hey guys,
hey Curly,
we need to tune this down a half step." And
go half step down.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's easy to sing too. Maybe Paul can sing it. So the first band I was in 1976, we played a lot of Kiss songs, and I made the guitar player learn the leads, because without them being played like they are on the album, the song just didn't. It wasn't the same. It just didn't work. And I think this speaks to Ace's talent. I don't know when they first recorded these things, whether how they did this in the studio. Did Ace sit down and really work on what he was going to play, or was this off the cuff and it was just so good that, of course, he played? I mean, live he played it just like the album. Yeah, he still played it like the album even now. I mean, and which, like I said, you got to without those leads like that. I don't know, and I just got to give him credit for that. I think his leads, they're just tremendous. They're just really just fun to listen to, and they're memorable. There's only a handful of guitar players out there that their leads are that important to the song that you really need them there, or the song just isn't gonna work.
So did you see some great songs on one of those 70s tours?
I saw them. Let's see. It was right after Kiss Alive came out.
Yeah.
And I saw them at the San Diego Sports Arena, because they sold out in LA. I lived in the Los Angeles area. They sold out in LA like immediately when the tickets went on sale. And I was able to get tickets for the show in San Diego. I was only 15. Yeah. And luckily, my brother, CEO Dave, being back then we didn't have the best relationship. He was still beating the crap out of me, but he was cool. He was cool enough to get his buddies together and include me to go to this concert. It was the second concert I ever went to. So we drove down to San Diego. It was a cool road trip, and it was just like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I mean, we're sitting in the back of the arena in the loge level, which is not on the floor. It's just up one, So we're looking straight ahead at the stage. And when the lights went out for Kiss, it was Montrose was the warm-up act. And they were good, but it was, it's like everybody's there to see Kiss. Yeah. When the lights went out, the sound in the place just went up so loud. I mean, again, only my second concert, but I was like, wow, this is what concerts are supposed to be like. When they started playing, they opened with Deuce, of course. They did the whole Kiss Alive thing. When they started playing, you couldn't hear them because the crowd was so loud. Wow. It was nuts. I've never been to a concert like that since. That's awesome. Where the audience was so loud you couldn't hear the band.
And that's probably the ultimate tour you could have seen them, I'm thinking.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's like because everything was about to change at that point, for them musically and also the band wise. And we've talked about this with other bands, that once they get successful, things, how they fought so hard together to get there, then things kind of start to maybe crack a little bit amongst the guys, because it's, it's like we don't have to fight together anymore to make it. We've made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was incredible. And yeah, and another thing about Kiss, and I've said this many times before, of all the musicians that I've talked to and interviewed, and asked them about how they, what put them on the road with rock music. And you get guys that are older than me, 70 and whatever, and a lot of them will cite the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. It's like, yeah, when I saw that, I knew I wanted to be a musician. Well, my age, 65 and lower, it's Kiss.
That's
almost
right.
I'm going to say at least 90% of the people I've talked to that are musicians, they're like, yeah, it's Kiss is what got me wanting to play guitar. And Ace Frehley was the big influence as far as guitar playing goes. I mean, for me, it was Gene Simmons. I mean, if I cite my greatest bass influences as far as my playing goes, well, I have to say Gene Simmons is right there. And
that's cool.
Kiss just had still such a huge impact in rock music. It's hard to find anybody out there in rock music, any heavy metal or anything like that hasn't been influenced by Kiss.
It's funny when you say that too, to think about how they spent all those years. Like if you go read history books on the first few years they were trying to make it, like up until Alive, they were struggling. And
Alive's what basically saved them, or they would have done the record company.
Kind of started to take off. And that got me thinking today, like when was the earliest point that I ever heard of Kiss as a kid? And I told you that I went to Christian school, but that was after the fact. First, second, third grade, which would have been the mid-'70s, I'm going to public school, and I can't remember one single kid ever talking about Kiss. I'd never heard of them. Until third grade. In third grade, I had a friend down the street, and I would go to his house. I've told you this story before. He had one of those big furniture record players in his room.
Oh yeah,
and
we had one
too. And his mom was cool. She let us put it on and turn it to 11. And I instantly became obsessed listening to that. And I also remember being really excited about the song "Shock Me" and the guitar solo. Like I said, this is what kind of woke me up to rock music. But you
remember, what a big deal it was when that album came out and that Ace is actually singing a song.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That was. Of
course,
huge.
I didn't know anything about that, but yeah, looking back on it now. But the only other, because it wasn't younger kids just don't get how little our sources of information were back then.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously, teenagers back then knew who Kiss were, but their only medium for that would have probably been magazines and maybe a radio station if you're in a big city. Like I can't remember Lexington playing Kiss songs on the radio much.
I don't remember hearing Kiss on the radio either.
The only other time I remember it, because I'd learned about Kiss and then Star Wars came out. So then when I would go to the grocery store and I'm looking at Star Wars cards, well, there started to be Kiss cards next to them.
Right.
So I was learning about Kiss from my friend, and I see the Kiss cards there. And so I started buying those with, I don't know how I got them, if my mom bought them for me, or if I had some money to buy them myself. But, if it wasn't for like my friend down the street, I can't think of when I would have ever had known about Kiss until they had done all that extra marketing, like with the cards and, all the toys and things they started to make after that. So yeah, it's the way they evolved in the 70s is a very interesting story.
Yeah. So I see Jeremy. I don't know. We should probably address this. Jeremy wants to know what we think was best. Ace's best work, Kiss or solo? I'll go first. Kiss. Although I did like his solo stuff a lot. I have all his albums. I've bought them all. But
yeah, Kiss for me too.
I mean, and it's not like he had a huge input. I mean, the first album, I think the only song that was really his was Cold Gin, which one of my all-time favorite Kiss songs.
Yeah, but then after that, I mean, if you look at the rest of the discography, I mean, Parasite is his, Strange Ways is his, Getaway is his.
Oh yeah, Getaway's a totally underrated song. I don't know. I think he did the intro to Rock Bottom. I don't think he wrote the song. Yeah,
he's got credits on that as well. Yeah.
And Flaming Youth, Victor. He's got a credit on there. I bet he wrote the main riff and
probably
the chorus part, which is that's a fun song to play. Fun song.
Yeah, it's a shame they only played it really on that tour, on the Destroyer tour.
Yeah, and they didn't play it when I saw him on that tour. I saw him at the Anaheim Stadium, and they did not play that.
It's on. You can find
it on something. There's a live
and on the one of the Destroyer reissues where they have a show from Amsterdam, I believe. They're playing it on there.
Cool.
Jeremy also says, "Do you think they were ever going to reform?"
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they would have. There's just too much that went on. There's behind the scenes stuff that I've heard that I can't mention. And there's also the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. I think it really bothered Ace and Peter that there was no way that they were able to get up there and play. That
that was a total missed opportunity. And Paul and Gene. They should.
Paul.
They should feel bad about that not happening for the fans.
Well,
I mean, they should have done it for the fans.
The other thing too is that there was talk about them inviting him to this whole Vegas thing,
right?
And he said in an interview recently, the place where they should have invited us was those final shows in New York at the end of the road tour, not for this. And he said, the Garden holds 19,000 people. Where they're playing in Vegas holds 5. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I think they dropped the ball with both of those things because I think us as fans were thinking, okay, end of the road. The end of the road is going to have this ultimate show where we're going to get Ace, we're going to get Peter, we're going to get Bruce. We may even get Vinny up there for a song. It seemed like the end of that really should have been a celebration of every era of the band, where it should have had all of these different members chiming in and celebrating their portion of their legacy. Because let's be honest, they're part of the legacy that is Kiss. So I don't think they would have ever gotten back together again. I think there was just too much stuff. They would have had to fork over a boatload of money. I mean, it would have been in the millions. It would have been probably double-digit millions for Ace to come back on board. I think at this point, it would have strictly had to have been a cash exchange, but unfortunately, it never happened.
Too bad.
Euro Lamb Forever.
Yeah, who's Euro?
I don't know. That's
somebody from Greece.
is saying Ace and Peter both underutilized vocally. Peter also had a great voice.
He did. He does have a great voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter had the
his singing on Black Diamond. Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Yeah, there's so much of that early era stuff that, and you were able to see them live, but just checking out like the Winterland footage when the band was a hungry band out to prove themselves, and the 4 of them. I mean, they were a unit. They were out there to annihilate the audience.
Yeah,
it's just spectacular, as you were saying before, Brad. His solos, just how everything cohesively worked. And after seeing the Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary, we can't really poo-poo on Kiss anymore for having all these behind the scenes musicians, because apparently Jimmy Page has played on 1,000,001 things in the studio even after Led Zeppelin became popular, because
Mhm.
whoever the guitarist was, he was brought in because the producer knew that he was a sure thing. So, it's it's unfortunate that we couldn't get one last hurrah out of the original 4.
I agree.
But and there are people criticizing Paul today, for example, with his message, what he posted. It's a picture of him and Ace laughing, and he says something to the extent of, in 1974, they were staying at the Wyatt Hotel on Sunset, and he heard a guitarist blazing in the next room over, and he went out to the balcony, looked over, or he thought to himself, I want a guitarist like that in my band. He went
Mhm.
out on the balcony, looked over, and saw that it was Ace playing, and he said, great. Oh my God, I do have that guitarist in my band. So a lot of people have kind of come out at Paul saying, kind of criticizing that that's the only thing he could have said. He released a joint statement with Gene as, under the Kiss moniker, under the Kiss brand. I do honestly think that that message is more of him being in shock than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this has probably caught them off guard as well, because as we're saying, I think that all of a sudden they've realized, oh shit, this is never going to happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that they held out hope, as what Jeremy said and what we've discussed. I think that they felt that there was going to come a time and place that, that they were going to make a deal that they could never refuse, and they would get the 4 back together again, and there would be that toxic mix again from all 4 components, not just one person. It would be all 4 of them. And I think that they've realized there's finality to this. There is no next chance. It's
Mm-mm.
done. So I think now is when you may see them lament some of their decisions. They may not say it publicly, but I think the telling sign is going to be this, thing at the Kennedy Center.
Yeah.
Do some of them not show up as a result because this has been,
Mm.
such a big hit to them? Do they realize all of a sudden, shit, I should have addressed this a different way when he was still alive. We should have done this for the fans.
Yep.
That's
It's depressing.
it is, because it's definitely a lost opportunity. And I think they're gonna feel it more than anyone else. All right, Jeremy saying he will be immortalized, though, with the plan for a ABBA style hologram show. Is that still the plan? Yes, because they've sold their music, their image, everything to the organization that owns all the ABBA stuff. So it's going to be that same sort of thing. They're going to create the avatars. The rumor is that they're going to build a theater in Las Vegas to put on the Kiss shows. And if planned correctly, they're gonna get a lot of money out of that. And they're gonna if they pull it off the right way, that could last a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have to make sure that it's inclusive for everybody, though. That's the thing. The one thing that they've been smart with doing, and I'll continue to say this, when people doubt, oh, Kiss having more streams than Def Leppard is bullshit because Def Leppard sold more albums and this and that. Right. But what has Def Leppard done to ingrain themselves with the younger audience? See, that's the thing that Kiss has always been smart with. As far as, us as adults looking at, them doing the Hello Kitty stuff or doing the Scooby-Doo stuff. For a lot of older people thinking that's nonsense, they need to do this or they need to do the other thing. I was watching Scooby-Doo with my kids and realizing that they were listening to the songs as a result of them watching these Scooby-Doo cartoons with Kiss. I Was Made for Loving You is their biggest song on streaming. It was in the Fall Guy movie. It was in that movie constantly. There were instrumental versions of it. There was a version of a woman singing it. There was the band singing it. So, if nothing else, there should be classes in college for people that want to market bands. Studying Kiss, studying merchandise, because I can't tell you how many bands have come out and criticized them and then done all the same things. Yes, Motley Crue, yes, Aerosmith, etc., etc. So many bands that criticize them for meet and greets, so many bands that criticize them for different types of merchandise. They all followed in the footsteps. So, this whole ABBA type show is seem like something ridiculous to a lot of people. And I think, again, had they have done a show that included all of the former members for the end of the road and then tack that onto the end, I think the internet community would have digested that in a different fashion. There wouldn't have been such a harsh remark. And that was, or such a harsh response. I think that was due to the fact that people held out hope for that last night to have Ace, Peter, and at least Bruce.
It would have been cool.
And they would have made money hand over fist because they could have released whatever they wanted from that. They could have released DVDs. It could have been on Netflix. It could have been on a million things, and people would have signed up for it. Because Kiss fans are collectors. Kiss fans are our age, have disposable income, and a lot of people are still waiting for that DVD from Dubai that spent a ton of money on that, and they will never see it. You're telling me that they would have released an end of the road DVD and people wouldn't have gone apeshit over that and wouldn't have purchased, especially having all of these people returning. They would have done gangbusters.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Ace was working on Origins 3. He supposedly had some music, some demos that he was going to work with Steve Brown on, apparently, afterwards. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I mean, I don't know if there are stems out there somewhere, Ace has got 1 million demos. I'll tell you right now, if they start releasing demos and unreleased stuff similar to that Origins Volume 1 with certain things, Kiss fans are going to buy it.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah,
you got to wonder because if Steve Brown is still his right-hand guy, he's probably got access to all this stuff, and I don't know what the legalities are of everything, but obviously he has the power and connections to complete all of that, and you could get a lot of people guesting on it, and you could probably put out a pretty cool album.
Yeah,
but I don't know whether that is something he can actually do legally.
Right. Legal side of it is what's really going to dictate what happens. Because, Ace for years had talked about releasing the Elder with his original solos and with his original guitar playing on there. And that never happened. Unless Mercury allows that to happen, or whoever owns Mercury now allows that to happen. I don't see that Steve Brown is going to have the pull to release any of that stuff. That's probably more of the band, and we don't know. Would the band release a deluxe edition of the Elder to include that sort of stuff?
No.
I think that's. Well, I don't think that's the last album that they would release a deluxe version of, but it's one of the last few that they would do it to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. They've skipped over Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, right? They haven't. Have they?
No, they did a deluxe Love Gun.
They did a deluxe Love Gun. Okay, yeah. But not Rock and Roll Over, right?
No Rock and Roll Over. So they've done deluxe editions of, and I'm going off the top of my head, so if I'm missing anything, I apologize, but they've done Destroyer more than once.
Oh, yeah.
Love Gun, Creatures, the Alive albums, and I don't think that they've done deluxe editions of anything else. And for example, with Creatures, there were demos that were more lick it up demos. So I think they just wanted to encapsulate anything remotely pertaining to Vinny with Creatures, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know. They've been doing these soundboard releases. But honestly, I would almost prefer a box set that has, okay, we're going to give you all of the stuff that we played on the Destroyer tour that doesn't appear on any other live album. We're going to give you all of the, Rock and Roll Over stuff,
Yeah.
I'd prefer a box set that has, all of this stuff that they've released. If you want to include Alive 1, Alive 3, fine. But then give me another 2 discs that have all of the missing pieces, all of the other stuff. If you want to include a live album from each lineup, okay, fine. But do it all in one package.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I've said this a bunch of times. I've mentioned this to Mark Strigl before. We've talked about it a bunch. We're at the age where all of our heroes are slowly going to go away. For a lot of us, that kind of started with Ronnie James Dio, continued with Lemmy, Eddie Van Halen, Chuck Schuldiner. We've had, recent losses of Paul Di'Anno, John Sykes, Ozzy Osbourne. Obviously, Randy Rhoads died way back when. You've had Kevin Dubrow. You've had Frankie Banali.
Cliff Burton.
There's another one. There's a lot of people, that are intricate parts of the soundtrack of our lives that are no longer with us. And We reached that finality. And
did you say Neil Peart?
Neil Peart, I did not say. There's another one.
Yeah.
Can't forget Neil.
You still have Willie Nelson. Dolly Parton.
Are we sure?
And they're still going. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, are we sure? But,
Dolly has said she's got some health issues.
Yeah, she
says she's still alive. She ain't dead
every
yet.
Once in a while, I'll hear that Willie Nelson's having a hard time, but I never can tell if it's just fake news or the truth.
Yeah. Well, how much money does Willie have? I mean,
I don't think he thinks about money anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And that's another thing too. You think about like members of Metallica, for example, with all the stuff, with all the substance abuse they've done and hard living and stuff like that. But they've got so much money that I have to think that Metallica is an organization where they've got doctors, they've got masseuses, they've got, like, when they're out on tour, they've got their whole enterprise following them around and making sure that the money's still coming in.
That's right. It makes sense too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of your business, man. Yeah. You gotta,
absolutely.
They got to stay in shape to do it.
That
takes a lot of time when you get older.
And that's interesting because the Metallica guys are kind of in between. They're like 10 years older, at least 10 years older than me. They're in their 60s.
I guess that's about right. Yeah.
The Stones, that's another example.
The Stones will never die, I don't think.
The Stones will be the first human beings to reach 150 years old.
Well,
that will be an amazing day, though, when Keith Richards dies, because we've all been telling so many jokes for decades now about how long he's going to be around.
Oh, absolutely. There's the Dennis.
It'll be hard to believe, that he's really gone.
There's the Dennis Leary joke of Keith Richards that he told back in the 90s, where Keith Richards started doing the stop doing drugs PSAs, and Dennis Leary says, "The kids can't do drugs, Keith. You've already done them all. They're going to have to wait until you die and they burn your ashes so that they can get high off of your ashes."
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, I think Jeremy's got a good point that fortunately the music never dies. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And thank goodness for that. And because I mean, the sad thing is we're probably going to be doing a few more of these type of shows here in the next year or two. Yeah.
I sure am glad that we have each other to talk to, though.
Yeah.
Especially with a lot of my music buddies being gone too.
Exactly.
I mean, they're up there hanging out with Ace now.
There we go.
I'm down here trying to console my mopey feelings, having lost him.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think what we do here on the show is therapeutic for us and for a lot of other people. That's why we encourage other people to join us in the chat during the shows or joining us on Patreon. Before we wrap up the show, I do want to remind you guys about the Halloween show. Yes, Brad, you did come up with this idea, whether you remember it or not.
Oh, yeah, I got 5 days to come up with my list. Holy crap, I better get that done. Wait, one quick question about Halloween. Are we ranking them or just giving you a list of 10? And then you're going to...
It's the same as usual, Brad. We don't change.
1 to 10.
All right. 1 to 10.
I can do that.
Bands you most associate with Halloween, whether it's imagery, whether it's lyrics, whether it's album covers.
Edgar, I'm going to challenge you to come up with the top 10 list and your Halloween bands and submit it to Victor. And we'll see about the Jays. How do you even know about the Jays over there? Nobody knows about baseball in the UK, do they?
Well, they are Canadian. They may feel that they're still part of the
UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a whole country behind them. That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Join us on the next one, and get the Halloween thing together.
Give me your 10 bands you most associate with Halloween, spookiest bands.
And Lamb Euro, whoever you are, thinks. Give us your list too. Join the party.
Send your list to signalsfrommars@signalsfrommars.com, or if you usually exchange messages with me on any of these social media platforms, do so that way. One parting word from Ace.
Look, it's rock and roll.
About the rock and roll, as Jeremy said, it will live on forever. Thank you, Ace. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Brad, Ed, Edgar, Jeremy, Toni, the Euro Lamb forever. As Brad shows off his effects. Thank you guys once again, and we will see you next time right here on Signals from Mars. See you, folks.
Thank you for watching the Signals from Mars live stream. You can watch the show live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, or check out replays on YouTube. Go to signalsfrommars.com for more information. This concludes our show.